What is going on? Welcome back to Shed Build. In this episode, we're working on the cooling system. Alright, so we're now looking at the cooler pipes. Originally I was just going to scrap the 12HT cooler pipes. You can see here it's corroded, or it looks like someone's even cut it along this part here and they've just joined it with a bit of hose. So I was originally just going to scrap that entirely and just run some heater lines straight from the water pump up to the heater core. But after looking at these closer, this is the 2H cooler pipe, and I think I may be able to create one good one out of the both of them, as I have been this whole build. But all these joints here where they connect onto the mounting brackets all have been soldered, or they look to have been soldered onto the steel pipes. So what I'm going to try, I've never done this before or anything like this, I'm going to try desolder these from the brackets here. So I've got a bit of butane MAP gas here, burner. So I'm going to heat them up, remove the bracket, hopefully, and then make a straight cut along here, cut off a steel pipe there, and then reattach it to the original. And this actually needs to come out and bend out, because on the 60 it must have been over here somewhere, but on the HJ75 it's more of a right angle. So I'm going to cut that, extend that, use this right angle here, put it onto here and see what happens. I'm going to try solder these together. I do have some flux and silver solder, so I'll try solder them. If it doesn't work, I've also done some test welds along the original 2H, which came out pretty good. A lot of penetration there, it's got a strong weld. But yeah, I'm going to experiment a bit. Never done this before, as I said, but yeah, we'll see how we go. So I've removed the bracket and cleaned it up as best I could. Now it's time to split these two pipes. So obviously I need to be able to weld all the way around, which I am going to do. I'm not going to solder it. I assume the reason I couldn't remove the solder from these pipes in the first place is because it's some high heat solder, obviously, being that these are coolant pipes and they get up to high temperatures. It needs to be able to withstand that. So maybe my torch can't get high enough, I don't know, but my lack of understanding is the reason why I'm going to weld these instead of trying to solder them back together, which I know I can do from these tests here. So I'm going to cut these brackets straight down the middle and then split these pipes, figure out the distance I need from this one, and then cut them both square, weld them together, and then I can weld back those brackets together. Alright, we have one down, just been back and forth, filling it up with water. See, I've plugged it down the bottom here. Been filling it up with water, checking for leaks. There's been heaps of pinholes, so I've just been going around it, welding up all the pinholes, grinding it down smooth. I wouldn't worry too much about grinding, but this one here is right in the middle of the bracket, so in order for the bracket to sit flat, I kind of had to weld it down flat. But now I'm moving on to the second one. You can see down the left there, I've got it clamped in the vise. I've just got to turn this one basically 90 degrees for it to be facing the right angle towards the heater core. So I'll cut that one and repeat the process. We now have two watertight coolant pipes. Now before I go and weld these together, I'm going to clean the inside of them. There's lots of scaly rust and old coolant and stuff inside of them. Might be able to see down there. But either way, the process I'm going to use is electrolysis. So what this does is basically use the piece you want to clean as a cathode, I believe, and then use some sacrificial metal as an anode. And what you do is you submerge it all within water, and then what will happen is you charge it full of energy, full of power, and the power from that will then send all of the loose, scaly rust and grime and stuff over onto your sacrificial anode. So it'll pull all of the stuff out of whatever you want to clean out onto these rusty bits of steel that we're going to be using. That process is just a quick, easy way to clean stuff that's hard to clean. So obviously submerging this is going to be a hell of a lot easier than trying to, brush it out or whatever. I'll show you the process and how it's done if you've never seen it before, because it's it's a pretty good way to clean stuff. So the electrolysis bath is all set up now. You can see my sacrificial steel at each corner is all tied together with a bit of wire, all linking it together, and that is connected to the positive terminal. So you can also use a battery charger, but I thought I'd use my new regulator for DC power. Connect the sacrificial steel to the positive, and then the part you want to clean to the negative. Add a bit of a dash of bicarb soda, and I believe that just carries the electricity through. So you can see here it's just trying to connect or close the circuit for the electricity. So it'll come through here, and that's drawn through the negative to the positive. I think it just draws it through the water. So yeah, I'm going to add a splash of bicarb soda in now, turn it on, and you should be able to see it happen almost instantly. So hopefully you can see the bubbles starting to form top of the part there, and they're all being dragged. You can kind of see it through here maybe. It's all being dragged over to that piece of steel there. So the process is happening. Now I'm going to leave this overnight, and we'll come back and see what it looks like in the morning. Alright, it's been about 24 hours now, and look at the state of this. So it's definitely done its job. This is all the stuff that was inside the coolant pipes. Oh, it's just thick brown sludge. So I'll pull them out of here now, and then give them a wipe down, maybe a bit of a spray, and then I can weld them back together. Listen to it. Here we now have 2 cleaned and repaired coolant pipes. So I didn't get a very good shot of it before, but all of the inside of this pipe here was just chockers, full of corrosion and old coolant, rusty, scaly stuff. So now I'm going to weld these back together, and then I can work out the distance for this last bracket up the end there that I cut off before. I can weld that back on too. Done. Welded together, front and back. It's all good. It's ready to go. I'm going to chuck some primer on this now, and then I'll put a bit of rust seal on it and get them installed. And here we have the completed system. So it comes in through the radiator here, up through the cooler pipes, into the heater core, back out, back into the block, and continues over. So now that these are done, I'm going to work on the turbo water lines. So as you can see there, that little line that I made up off the cooler pipes runs through here, down, and this outlet just here. So 2 barbs, all this needs is just a bit of hose to connect the two. And I'll clamp that out of the way, probably to that bolt there. I've just added on a little barb fitting for this barb here. So once I'll make up the turbo support bracket, you can feed through there and up into the return. Alright, it's all buttoned up. I've actually taken off the turbo to add the top feed onto the bottom port, so it was on the top port on the other side. I've just swapped it over to the bottom one, so it snakes underneath now, comes up through here and then bends back into the feed. Return as well, it's all buttoned away. I'm going to clamp this right down under the compressor to keep it away from the heat through the bracket. But this stuff here is what I've been using to do most of it. It's just a Z-bend, heater pipe Z-bend, and come in handy. Cut them up, make whatever bends you want, or just use them as straights. But yeah, that's how I've done those in there. So now it's time to get the radiator in. So in order to get the radiator in, I have to put the inner fenders on either side, and then the radiator support drops on top of that onto the body mounts here. So I've just got to tidy up a couple of these hard lines through here, install them all while I've got access, and it'll be easy now. So I'll run them through there, and then we can put the inner fenders on. So I just installed the brake master cylinder, the lines, and my power steering line. So for anyone following along at home that has a 75, this is also an 80 series master cylinder. When ordering one, you got to order the non-ABS model and with the 4-bolt flange, as you can see there, and it all bolts up pretty well. All the lines and everything the same. You can use all your factory lines. My clip back there. So yeah, it's pretty easy, simple mod. But now that most of the lines are done, I'm pretty sure there's more that are running along here, but I just can't remember what goes there at the moment, so it should be right. I'm going to move on to the inner fenders. Okay, so we've got both our inner fenders on, the radiator support on. I just chucked the bonnet latch on just to get it out of the way off the shelf. Now it's time for the radiator, but before I install that, I'll just flash back to a couple of months ago when I went to take the radiator to be serviced. Alright, I've just started stripping down the radiator to go get it serviced by the boys down at Lakeside Radiators in Joondalup. And as I was taking off this epoxy little thermo, you can see the absolute damage that's done to it. Corrugations and ruts and taking off road, that's probably just general wear and tear, but I'm pretty keen to see what the boys can do with this and get it looking and operating a hell of a lot better. Alright, so as you saw, I took the factory 2H radiator down to Joondalup Radiators to be serviced, and as I got there, he took one look at it and goes, man, this has got no core left. He basically just put his finger on it and the whole thing just deteriorated. So it's no wonder that I was having overheating issues prior. As I was there, he said, oh, I've got an ADRAD radiator here if you want to get one of these. So this is what I picked up. It's an ADRAD for a 75 series, 2H, 12HT. I've read a lot of good things about these. So we'll chuck this in the car now and get it plumbed up. Okay, so I've got the upper and lower radiator hoses on. I've just rigged up a Mount Franklin overflow. Put the belt on for the water pump and alternator, as you would have seen. I've also rigged up the battery here, pretty dodgily, but should be right. Just connecting all the powers and grounds as last time. So now I'm going to fill it up full of coolant and distilled water, and then once it's full, I'll start it up and let the water pump it through the whole system and bleed the system also. You. Alright, so as you just saw, I just ran the engine for a bit, let the coolant come through the heater core and cycle through, but I really wanted to monitor what it was doing. So I've got my gauges up here, and I've just wired them in real quickly. So we've got main power coming through the wire that I fed through, integrated through the main loom. So that goes to the accessories box in the engine bay. That runs through the firewall and into a fuse box. And we've got just our powers coming out of the fuse box into the gauges. And then I've also got a bus bar distribution block, ground block, so that runs back into there where I've rib nutted a ground into it. And now when I start it up, I can monitor what the engine's actually doing, besides boost obviously because we've got no intake, but temperature wise we'll be able to see what's going on. Alright, so taking a look at our fan shroud now, you can see it's all busted up all along here. Don't know what's happened to it, it's always been broken. So along here we've also got a bit of waving. So I'm just going to go through and beat that out straight with a hammer and dolly, and then cut through this section here, weld in a new piece, coat it in rust seal, and then it should be right to fit. Alright, and that is it for another episode. I actually can't install that fan shroud yet because it's meant to go in before the radiator, and I also forgot to install the thermostat, so we'll rip it out and do it again. But stick around for next week when we get the exhaust system fabricated. So until then, stick around, like, subscribe, you know the deal, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.